Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from relationship advice. Our first post is by a string of numbers and letters. My boyfriend, possible fiancé, said that when he dies, he wants to be buried next to his late wife. Hi, English is not my first language, and I'm not looking for advice, just want to get it out. For some context, my boyfriend was married to his late wife for 4 years and dated for 6 prior to that. They have a son together. I know my boyfriend, whom I'll name Glenn for the sake of the post, was deeply in love with her. They're high school sweethearts who got married in their 20s. He only begun dating again like 8 years after her passing. Now, we've been together for 5 years, and I'll admit that at first, I used to be jealous and insecure about Glenn's late wife. I thought that him still loving her meant he could never love me, and I was just supposed to be her replacement. We actually broke up on our first year, and only got together because for the next Valentine's Day, Glenn wrote me a letter professing what he felt for me, and we decided to have a talk. I understood that our love and their love are different, and what he feels for her doesn't undermine what he feels for me. I tried to avoid the "what if she were alive" kinda train of thought because it's hurtful for both him, me, and their son. We are together, and I firmly believe that's what matters now. During the years, Glenn and I have talked about marriage, but with how hectic my career has been and the market surrounding it, I didn't feel comfortable having a deeper talk until now. With the holidays leaving our door, we decided to have a proper talk about marriage and what we want. We decided we want to get married and begun talking about what was expected of it. Mid-talk, he stops and says that whatever happens, he's getting buried next to his late wife. Not gonna lie, this took me by surprise. I said there was no need to rush and we could talk about funeral arrangements later. He said we could, but that was done. He said that when his wife died, he already set a double spot for when he passes away. And I kid you not, he said he could give me the name so I could be buried near her. It was as bad as it is, honestly, but me, trying to keep the peace and be understanding, I asked why I couldn't be buried next to him too. He has 2 sides after all. But he didn't like that. I could see it in his face. He didn't say anything else, but it was written all over his face. I just stood up and said I had to go, nothing more. I guess he came to his senses or realized what he had implied because he called me the next morning and has texted me ever since. But I know it. This relationship is over. In the end, his always and forever is her, and I get it, I respect it. That doesn't mean I have to like it. The relationship has never been bad. His surroundings is not a constant reminder of his late wife. He's not constantly bringing her up. I know I'm overreacting, but that look, as if me asking was stupid. Like there's no way I'll ever share that spot next to him. I'll probably respond to him to have a talk next week, but I just know it. This is over. I'll never be able to forget that look in his face. Our next post is by the handsome Canadian. I told my mother she is the most privileged person I know after she told me, "You choose to be depressed." Long story short, my mother is a single mom and a boomer. She graduated high school at 18. That summer got a job at her dad's factory and worked there for 30 years, retiring at 48 years old with a full pension, and hasn't worked a day since. She's 65 now. We were talking today about the state of the world and how I feel very depressed lately because I don't feel like any of my goals I've had for the past 20 years. I'm 37 are realistic anymore. My only goal was to own a modest home I can raise my children in. One home for life in a small town. I got the small town good-paying public service job, but am still priced out of even the cheapest starter condo within an hour of any direction. I told my mother that it's hard to hear about how her peers and sisters all owned their first homes before they were 25. My mother bought a 2-bedroom detached at 23 by herself. Meanwhile, I'm 37 with a partner, and can't even qualify for the cheapest condo. Despite the fact that both myself and my spouse went to university and are 10 years into our respective public service jobs, we live paycheck to paycheck with no goal on the horizon other than feed and clothe the kids. My mother told me that I'm choosing to think this way, and just need to stop being so depressed about it all, and suck it up. She says to work harder or maybe find a second job at night once the kids are asleep. I then told her that it's pretty privileged of her to just tell someone, "Stop being upset about this," when she didn't go to post-secondary, didn't have any student loans, fell into her lifelong career the month after she graduated, bought a home by herself as a young single woman, and only had to show up at work for 30 years to retire completely before age 50. I told her, "Mom, I love you, but you are single-handedly the most privileged person I have ever met personally." Our next post is by Acrobatic Path. Feel so stupid for believing my boyfriend. I'm 17 and have a son who is almost 1 year old. I was 16 when I got pregnant and he was born. His dad was my boyfriend. He was at the very end of his senior year of high school when I got pregnant. We never officially broke up or anything. He said he wanted to be there for me and our baby, was going to help out and all of that. But then I found out at the last minute that he had been visiting colleges far away from home and ended up deciding to go to a school a few hours away from where we live. His whole family knew he was moving away and nobody told me. I found out literally at the last minute, shortly before he left. That was fall 2022. He told me he'd just be a few hours away. It was no big deal. I believed him, or tried to believe him. At first, he stayed in touch with me. I kept him updated on my pregnancy. Slowly, it became harder to reach him. It took longer and longer for him to respond to me. He was always sorry that he was busy and didn't see my message for hours or sometimes days later. When I went into labor, I texted him and he told me he couldn't leave school until the next day because he had a test. He showed up at the hospital the day after our son was born. He went back to school 2 days after that. He told me he had to go back. He couldn't just stop going to class for weeks to stay home with me. This is how it's been ever since. For spring break, he went on a trip with friends instead of coming home to see his son. He spent some time with us over the summer when he was home, but he never offered to take care of the baby some days, to give me a break or anything like that. He also treated me totally different. Like I was some annoying younger sister he didn't want to be seen associating with. Over this winter break when he was home, I went over to his parents' house to talk to him. I wanted to tell him that I need his help, and that our son deserves a more active father. I'm not asking him to leave school. I just wanted him to stop treating us like we're nuisances. He's never been cruel, like it'd be easier if he was mean, right? It's almost more painful that he essentially ignores us and won't just tell me to leave him alone. He told me he was sorry and that he cared about me and our son. He told me we could get back together and I should apply for school at the same college so that me and our son could move down there with him. I don't know why I believed him. I guess I wanted to believe everything he said. He convinced me to have sex. I slept with him. Then I texted him today and he said, "Sorry, I'm already back at school." He didn't even tell me when he was going back there. I just hate him so much right now. I don't want to hate him, but I don't want to love him. I can't seem to just feel indifferent about him. I don't know why I keep trying. I feel like an idiot. Our next post is by Throwaway. My M23X F24 accidentally did the only nice thing she's ever done for me. I dated my girlfriend for a little less than a year. She broke up with me over text when I was at my parents' for Christmas. Last weekend, she accidentally texted me a selfie of her and some guy at a club or bar. Then she apologized, saying it was meant for someone else. Until she sent me that picture, I really wanted her back. That picture made me realize how terrible she actually was. I was a chubby kid, so I have to really work on my weight. She would always comment on what I ate or say that it looked like I'd gained a few pounds. She said it's just because she was concerned about my health. I'm 6 feet 195 pounds. I freak out when I go over 200. I'm physically healthy but still very insecure, and it's not mentally healthy to obsess. She also criticizes my friends. A few of us live together because we're all just out of college and can't afford our own places. She says I'm an underachiever because I don't make a lot. It's my first real job, so it's not much money, but it's a good career path and I make similar to what my friends make. Every time I told her she was too critical, she justified it by saying that she just wanted the best for me. I texted her back thanking her for showing what a terrible girlfriend and person she was. That she always made me feel bad about myself, and seeing her hooking up with some guy made me realize that I'm going to be much happier without her. She told me to F off. I just wanted to say, thank you, Chloe. You accidentally helped me move on from you, and I feel bad for whoever is in that picture with you. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.